Hi everyone, it's Jim with Freedom Music Factory, and I'm here today with my good friend Tyler Shirelli.
Hey everybody.
There's Tyler, there he is again.
I'm coming around more and more.
Yeah, right. So Tyler kind of started his studio career here with me when he was just, we'll call a young lad, right?
Yeah, green. It was green.
We're not going to say dumb, because that rhymes, but we're going to just say a young lad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how old were you, like 20 or 19?
I would have been 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
Young.
So he started my studio recording, teching, kind of setting up things. He's a multi-instrumentalist, so he's really good on drums, bass guitar, and lead guitar. And he's played on some of my songs and helped me, you know, all throughout the years. And he also moved to Nashville, had a great career there as a musical director for Florida Georgia Line and playing guitar for like 10 years with FGL. So he's done a lot of studio stuff, but he's back here in Kansas City because this is where we grew up, and this is where we want to raise our kids here and have our families here. And he's working in my studio, plus freelancing with other gigs around. So more on Tyler later, but Tyler's just a good friend. And, you know, I thought I'd bring him in today to talk about this moment because he was here when I purchased this iconic drum set. And this, if you haven't figured it out, is the great Dave Weckl Red Recording Custom Yamaha kit that he used at the Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship Concert and also with the Chick Corea Elektric Band for all those years. So about 15 years ago, I saw that it was available for sale, and I contacted Dave about it and found out we worked out a deal, and I bought these drums off of Dave. And I flew out to California. We went to Drum Paradise there and spent the day with Dave. He was really great and gracious, and he signed all my shells, dated every single shell, and it was really a cool day. And we also authenticated it, so we got everything documented that these were used in the Chick Corea Elektric Band. We also used it at the Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship Concert. And that was really special to me because I was actually at the Buddy Rich Memorial Scholarship Concert, which was in October of 1989, wasn't it?
And from that was the performance that, you know, everybody who's a Weckl, Gadd, or Caliuta fan will recognize as the famous drum trio. Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep.
And I think John DeChristopher, our good friend, was responsible with Zildjian and producing that. He did a great job on that. Shout out to you, Johnny D. So anyway, some of you may not realize that that night actually had two different tapes. So it started out with Greg Bissonette, Dennis Chambers, and Louis Belson.
Yeah.
And then we took an intermission, and there was a who's who of drumming in the audience. So we went out and saw everybody, and they reset up. So then it was Dave Weckl, then it was Vinny, and then it was Steve Gadd, which we all love all three of those guys, especially Steve. I got to have Steve play on two of my songs recently this year. So watch the other videos about that, and those will be coming out. This is the kit. We're going to show you all about it today. We're going to take some footage of it up and close. Imagine some people wondered, where are these drums now?
Yeah.
And they've been here in Kansas City for 15 years next month.
Yeah. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for sharing it with us. I remember I started playing drums when I was 6, and my drum teacher, Rob Latham, Rob, if you're watching this, hello, Kansas City legend, great educator. Dave was the drummer I fell in love with as a kid. And I remember, I will never forget my dad taking me to the CD store over on North Oak, which is down from where CNC drums used to be, when it was a retail store. Some of you watching this, if you live in Kansas City, will remember Bill and Jake.
Hey, Bill Cardwell, my buddy. Chip Sage.
Yeah. I bought the Master Plan CD as a little kid and wore it out. And on the front of that is this kit. And as you'll see now, Jim and I went to some pretty great lengths to make sure to set it up like that, just for the history of it. And Jim, just thank you for allowing me to come in and get to play it and see it. This kit means a lot, and it was a big part of my journey. So to be around an instrument like this in the flesh, it's pretty mind-numbing. It's a special thing. So thanks for sharing it.
Yes, sir.
And not hoarding it and sharing it with everybody out there.
That's right. This is really just like a history documenting the kit. And, you know, it's special to me because I saw Dave playing at the Folly Theater in Kansas City with the Chick Corea Elektric Band. And like I said, I was at the Buddy Rich Memorial in the audience when he played Bugle Rag and, you know, dun, dun, Mercy, Mercy.
Yeah, Mercy, Mercy you did on that.
It was so great. And then seeing Steve Gadd there and Vinny and that iconic video. I knew when Modern Drummer announced that festival, I saw the ad in Modern Drummer, I knew that was going to be a one-of-a-kind night, never to be missed. So I made plans to go attend that and fly all the way just for that event. And I don't think that event has ever been matched, you know, in drumming history. It's just such a great event with Louis Belson there still, and he was playing great. And, you know, up and covers Greg Bissonette and Dennis Chambers. They were all just phenomenal that night. And then the three iconic drummers were all phenomenal. So I was excited when I got to purchase these drums. So anyway, we're going to go over this drum kit. You know what's cool is in collecting the snares of Dave throughout the years, which I think all of them are signed except one. I'm going to have to go see Dave in St. Louis to get one more signed. But this was a 30th anniversary snare, which I think was black brass, right, Tyler?
Yep.
And so it's back there. And what was so cool is when you open this up, check it out. There's a drum kit. So when we got that, that was like about 10 years ago when this snare drum came out. And he went back old school, and there's my drum kit right there. So it's kind of freaks me out sometimes when I look at that. But there's this Yamaha snare that Dave played. It's sitting back there. We'll give you a close-up shot of it here. And then, you know, Vinny also played that same snare for a while when he was with the Yamaha.
That was kind of like the hot Yamaha snare at that era. Like everyone kind of played those. That was like the new Black Beauty, so to speak.
That's right. It's like the 493, I think.
Yeah,
SD
exactly.
493 from Yamaha. So brass piccolo.
Yeah.
Of course, Jeff Porcaro played brass piccolos a lot, pearl-free floaters and that sort of thing. So those were kind of the craze in the 80s. And we fired this up today, and we're playing on it and said, man, it still cracks, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
So
you'll hear some playing samples from us in a little bit, just going over, you know, a little bit of everything, and then single drums so you can kind of hear everything. It's to this day, you know, you've got Phoenix kits, you have Maple Custom, you have a lot of different makes, but in the Yamaha family, the Recording Custom is still one of the greatest sounding drum sets of all time. Like even just listening to Ben, I played a little bit, and he just pulled them up, and they've got pinstripes, so it's very era correct. Dave played everything from Ambassadors to pinstripes. My personal favorite were the Clear Emperors. There's a lot of footage of him on this kit playing those. But speaking of the kit, we'll go over the specs quick. So it's interesting. And Dave, if you're watching this and feel so like chiming in, I have a couple thoughts. When he ordered this kit, he wanted square sizes. So up there you've got 10, 12, 13 squared. There's two 16s with the kit, although he didn't use both 16s a lot, but he did use one of them on the left later in this kit's career with him. Then you've got 8x8, 10x8, 12x8, 14 and 15 all hanging, and a 22x18 kick drum, which for the time, that was pretty advantageous. You were seeing a lot of 22x14s and 16s. This is a 22x18. At that same time, Porcaro, Ross Garfield from Drum Doctors turned him on to the 22x18. And another thing I'm going to say, I got to have this kit on and off the stands and cleaning it up and just looking over it. It looks like it just left Yamaha. Like, kudos to Dave and the myriad of techs he would have had at that time, either in the studio with Cartage or on the road. There is not one single mark on any of these toms, and we'll get some. You'll see footage throughout this that Matt will grab. There's not any snare rash. There's not any pedal rash. Like nothing. Like nothing. And so, and to say that, Jim, when you purchased the kit, Dave, you got the original cases that all have the Drum Paradise logos, you'll see. But what got me the most, I was a huge acoustic and electric band fan. And this is the case that held the brass piccolo, as you can see there. The electric band tag, number 4 out of their road luggage. You know, he probably flew with this. These luggage tags are usually on there, so you count them at the airport. But Cherry
E-band,
electric band, 14-inch brass piccolo. So, like, you know, Dave kept all this stuff in cases. When you purchased it from him, it was in cases, all the way down to the hardware. The hardware on this kit, the original hardware that would have come with it would have been the red label, red banded label. Dave included a full set of purple label, which would have been late 90s, early 2000s hardware set, but everything is correct setup-wise. Cool things to note, super nerdy, but that's why we're here, right? The original X hat from all those videos is right there. The original double pedal, which still feels incredible. We're going to be doing a demo on the FP9, the DFP9C, the chain drive pedals. You and I both own those, and I'm obsessed with them, and I know you are. This old Yamaha pedal still feels incredible. Original hi-hat stand, snare stand. We have the, well, you have a full set of old Zildjians. We really like the Evolution series, so we've got his brand new Legacy and Evolution set that he just uses at the clinic here in Kansas City that you bought.
I want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, man.
So Tyler and I were brainstorming like a year ago, and we were saying, you know, next year is going to be Weckl's 40th year with Yamaha. And I go, I wonder if we could get him out on a clinic in Kansas City. And Tyler was working at this music store at the same time, heading their drum department, and it had relationships with the Yamaha reps and all that stuff. I said, I wonder if we could get him to do a clinic tour to celebrate his 40 years with Yamaha, because I don't know what they're going to do. You know, we did a 30th anniversary snare drum, but I didn't think there was any equipment in the works. So I said, we had to do a clinic tour, and I could bring that kit up in Kansas City, and, you know, we could let everyone see it, and, you know, maybe Dave, I don't know if they would want to play it, but, you know, we just have it there, and it'd be kind of a cool moment. So you working with Palin, tell us about what that morphed into.
No, absolutely. I had talked to Quinn that works there, that's great at helping set up events, and Alec and Nate and Brett, who owns it. The whole crew was very receptive and wanting to be on the education side. Palin's really famous for being on the education side of retail, as well as the retail side of retail. And so they had reached out to Tim Canton, who is our Yamaha rep, and I got the feeling that Yamaha and Dave were already working on something like that. And to what extent, I don't know, but they loved it. And Dave came over and did a great clinic. And, you know, he was featuring the Tour Customs at that time, which you now own a Tour Custom kit that may or may not have been played at the clinic that evening.
Stay tuned.
So it was amazing to have that opportunity. And Dave is playing as great as he ever was.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll notice, as we're talking about Dave, he went through a huge transition in his playing in the late 90s, early 2000s. He started with Freddie Gruber. And as an effort to flow more and have more natural ergonomics around the kit, changed his entire approach to the drum set. Still playing traditional. But we'll do a future video on some of your other Weckl kits and how all that changed. And to sit down behind this versus those, you can totally see why he would have done those type of things. And it's, I'm not explaining it well, but the ergonomics behind it, it makes sense.
Well, Freddie Gruber took her a whole different way, man.
Yeah.
The stroke and the flow of the stroke, it was just totally different.
Way less tension in the body, way less turning and reaching.
The cymbals were way up high, now they're low. Everything's ergonomically correct and flows for Dave. That's why he only plays one high tom most of the time, right where his left hand grabs it and stuff. But I don't want to speak for Dave, but I will say, you know, it was a great clinic. And he played great here in Kansas City, and we got to catch up and talk about old times, and that was super great. I also want to say this is the exact same master plan setup that we could put together. So there are different configurations.
Yes, this is the master plan era setup. Now, you know, Dave had a lot of drums made for this kit. I think that different parts of this kit were ordered at different times. And it's like, if you look at like the 8-inch tom came with the square sizes and the floor toms, there are certain shells on this kit that have slightly different tints to them, which just could have been the manufacturing process. But I have a theory, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I have a theory that he originally ordered this kit with the square 8, 10, 12, 13, both 16s, 14, and 15, and 22, and possibly the 12 by 10, and then ordered this 10 by 8 and 12 by 8 later as he morphed into the, you know, non-power sizes that he did. Because this is the last iteration of the setup he used, you know, I think. And I could be totally wrong, just so everybody knows, like, don't blast us in the comments, like, we're having fun. So, like, you know, you kind of put all this together. For all I know, Dave could have set up every drum he could find for the front of that cover and said, we're just going to do this. Let's put a lot of drums. But when he went to the Maple Custom era, this was the setup. It was this exact configuration and sizes. And so I think that's why I think maybe he ordered the 10x8 and 12x8 later and started experimenting with this. He used the 10x12 a lot on the left, mounted towards that time. But back to eras, before this, Dave was really into the 8x8, 10x10 up top. And that was a popular thing then. You know, the smaller toms, he wanted to tune them lower, projection and tone were his thing. And so, yeah, those things, after having the kit in our hands and being able to actually look at it, you know, it's kind of fun to draw your own conclusion a little bit.
Yeah, when I was out in California seeing Dave, he had Daryl Anderson there from Yamaha, and he, you know, was just talking about the importance of the square sizes that they usually didn't make, but they made them special for Dave. And those are all here. So there's like 14 or 15 drums.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different setups that Dave used. So we're going to do separate videos. We know this is a master plan setup.
Yep.
Later, we're going to do the Buddy Rich Memorial setup, which would only be 2 up and 3 down.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in another video.
Yeah, we'll get to hear some of the square drums and hear, you know, we can do some head-to-head comparisons of the square versus non. I'm dying to ask, because I feel like anyone out there, can you tell us about finding the kit up to flying out there and what that day was like, walking into Drum Paradise and actually seeing it? And there were other drums for sale that day too, I remember you telling me. If you wouldn't mind telling that story, I love it, and I think people would enjoy hearing it.
Well, it's really cool. So I'd had a lot of drum sets, but I never had the iconic recording custom. So I was like, man, I've got to get a recording custom, and I want an older one. And I did a search, and lo and behold, it said Dave Weckl's red cherry recording custom set for sale. And Dave had a third-party handling it, and I was a winning bid and got to it. And, you know, it came with, you know, coming out to see Dave. He's authenticating everything, and we had a good day together. And, you know, Dave was getting ready to turn 50, and he said to me, you know, I have got a lot of drums up here I played over the years, and I'm just storing them. At this point, they're just costing me money. And, you know, I'm playing a new setup now, and I'm playing, you know, the Phoenix drums and everything else. And, you know, he did sample all these drums because we all know he's a great engineer and studio guy. So he sampled them all, so he has a library. So he said, it's time for me to stop paying to store them if I'm not going to use them, and I'd rather them go to somebody else like yourself that's going to use them and take care of them. And now Dave, funny as enough, has moved back to St. Louis, so we're just about 3.5 hours away.
Yep.
And so we keep in contact a little bit. I try not to bug him too much because he's a busy guy, but we do exchange emails and talk. And I saw him when he was here in Kansas City, and I go to St. Louis to see him with, man, that big band contingent was 2 thumbs up. You haven't been yet, but I got to take you to that. It was great. Playing the old charts from Buddy Rich, man, all the great classics was great. And he's also got a groove contingent. That
I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, so we'll be making more trips to St. Louis to see Dave because I think I'm missing a signature on just one of those snare drums. So Dave, if you're watching, thanks again for everything you've done. You've been great inspiration to myself and Tyler coming up the generation behind me.
That was the golden era. Like, I feel so, I don't mean to cut you off.
That's right.
I look back now, and drumming is awesome now. But at that point, in like the late 80s, early 90s, like there was something special happening in the drumming community. And you had a generation that was so inspired by, you know, Steve Gadd and this whole, my mind is on Gadd right now because I'm sitting around a bunch of Yamaha stuff, but there's a plethora of drummers at that time. To have Vinny, you know, to have seeing those guys inspired by who they were inspired with, it was just like, I don't think drumming has ever been like that since. No. You know, there are new amazing drummers and choppy drummers, but like, this is my own personal opinion, so I apologize if I offend anybody. The dynamics that people used to play with, you know, just watch the solos from that performance. You know, now everybody just chops as fast and as hard as they can, and there's nothing musical about it. Back then, man, it's like, Dave, when he started out that solo, just cymbals, little snare roll, random pops, and you're just like, whoa. Yeah. You told a story with the drum solo. It was really cool.
Like an artist painting a painting is what it was.
And then Gadd just saying, "Nah, I'm just going to play a groove." At the end of it, just going to
Crazy
that
Army.
And it was just like, you know, Gadd was like, "You guys are good. This is cute." But I Groove will always win.
And I was there, man. So that's why this is so awesome. Just take care of these drums.
Yeah.
I'm just taking care of them and using them and recording them a little bit. And, people come over and see them, and I let them take pictures with them and all that stuff. But I do want to talk about the cymbals, too. So when Dave came through to Kansas City for the 40th anniversary clinic with Yamaha, he hit several different big drum stores around the country. But he had this set of cymbals, and he actually came in with his own cymbals, and I don't think he ended up using these cymbals.
That was something that was on the rider that day, that there were certain things that Yamaha asked, or Dave asked every store to have just in case. Let's say you're flying with your cymbals somewhere and they get lost. So we ordered, to his specifications, his latest Sabian setup, and this is it, including the one rivet legacy ride that he has.
That's right. 17-inch Sabian crash over here, 18-inch to the right, and then the 18 darker cymbal that goes underneath the 14-inch China. Yeah. Those are both 18s over there. I think that's a 21-inch legacy ride. He's got his legacy hats there. Yeah. And this 17 has a rivet in it, so it's really cool. You'll see it on the video. And
then an homage to Dave, we have the 13-inch KZ hats on the X side. And an old, I think it's a 20-inch Pang China over here.
And that kind of looked like what he had in the master plan. But, I mean, I did have a bunch of other cymbals here, but when these became available and I bought the kit he played at the 40th anniversary tour, I just said, these are going to live right on here. So they're basically new cymbals. And
they sound great. They sound incredible.
So you got his new cymbal sound with his old classic drums, so it's really great. So
Dave, all we need now is a cowbell. Jim, you got to buy a Dave Weckl cowbell to put on.
I'll have to call him up, I guess.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Stay tuned. You're going to see a bunch of B-roll with this too, which is going to be my personal favorite part, getting to see a lot of close-ups of everything. Here's some sound samples from us. Get to hear it. So enjoy. Please take this opportunity to enjoy this. And Jim, thank you again for sharing it with us.
You betcha.
All right, a little bonus footage. I'm actually going to go through and just hit each one by itself. I'll tell you what we're doing. And you'll see, we'll cut to, when we get to the other configurations, to hear the square sizes too. It'll be really interesting. Starting with the 22 by 18-inch kick. Eight by 8 tom. 10 by 8. Twelve by 8. Fourteen by 12. 15 by 14. Sixteen by 16. And 3 by 14 snare. So those are the drums. Now let's go through the cymbals super quick. I'm going to start with the Sabians first, and then we'll do the 13-inch KZs and the 20-inch Pang. Let's start here with the 14-inch Legacy hats. Now the 22-inch Legacy ride with one rivet, which actually makes a huge difference. That bell is incredible. All right, 18-inch Evolution that we all know and love. Then we've got the 17-inch. We have got a 6-inch splash and a 12-inch splash. And then the 18-14 combo. It's an 18-inch Evolution crash with a 14-inch mini China on top. Very cool. All right, for nostalgic sake, the KZ 13-inch combo. And the 20-inch Pang. And that's enough of my yammering on. That's the kit and the cymbals. We've got Remo pinstripes on the 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. We have an Emperor on this 16. Our other 16 does have a pinstripe, but we set this one up. It was sounding really good. Kick drum has the original, or a Yamaha original. Dave probably changed it a few times, but they put the original Evans back on. I think it's the EQ3. It's two plies. It's got the vents in it and the ring. And it's got a Remo front head. It does have Dave's proprietary muffling in it, the Remo muffle that he came up with in conjunction with them. The snare has a coated ambassador with a snare side ambassador on the bottom. And you also notice it's like the old school super sensitive style extended snares on it. And that's it, y'all. That is the kit, an LP cowbell. We'll see you next time.